It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and a playoff berth? No, at least it's a victory. We talking Raiders. It's a good time. Let's go. We having good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. So here we are again. Show 18 with a big win. It's Thanksgiving time. We're about to be thankful all day and have a good time. That's right. I'm wearing my shirt. I got Pac-Man here. We're talking some dirt. Murf. Victory Monday. It's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Because we are a new Raider talk show. Today we're going to have good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Ooh, Murf. We got a big W for Thanksgiving, and I cannot be more proud. How are you on this lovely day?
Mikey, I'm doing fantastic. It's wonderful to be back here again on Air Nation for another episode, number 18, the Randy Moss episode of Mondays with Mikey and Murf. This is awesome, man. Isn't it nice to celebrate Victory Monday? Only twice, so we got to enjoy these while we get them, right?
Correct. And you said the number 18. I don't know if you remember that old school classic song that we call slow jams from the oldies. But it goes 18 with a bullet. With a bullet.
I remember 18 in Life to Go. I'm more on the rock and roll side. That's right. There you go. Yeah.
I remember that one. So look, this is going to be the thankful Thanksgiving episode. We're going to try to bring some positivity. Unfortunately, some of the headlines are from last week. We can't get a bunch of headlines that are all positive within a half a day after a victory. but we're going to go into every headline with positivity or look at it from a better side as opposed to a negative side. So you guys just please understand, even though the headlines are a little bit negative.
Don't set the negative precedent, Mikey. Everything is going to be lovely. It's going to be positive. There aren't always stories that are puppy dogs and ice cream, but we're going to make the best of it, right?
Correct. And in summary, since today is a Victory Monday, we got to do it, Murf. We got to do Johnny Drama. We got to do the Johnny Drama saying, oh, God, victory. So here it is. Oh, thank you, God. That's so how bad it is for Raider Nation. We have to thank God and scream on the top of a mountaintop for a victory. Victory! Thank you, Johnny Drama, for that. And I think we're going to have cameos of Johnny Drama throughout the show, screaming victory. That's how bad it's gotten for some of us faithful, that we literally need to go out of our way, celebrate, and create a carnival and just party it up for a victory. That's how bad it's gotten, Murph.
It's been a rough season, my man. Only 2 times we've gotten to do this. Hopefully there'll be 3 after this weekend in Baltimore.
That's true. So speaking of carnivals, that's a pun. That's a political pun. Speaking of that's caravan. Sorry, I got them mixed up. That's a caravan, not a carnival. Murph, let everybody know about your channel, the amazing podcast you've got going. You guys need to check this out. He did a special with Randy Hansen about the Tom Cable fight from back in that era, and it was amazing. So let everybody know about your amazing channel, brother.
Appreciate that, Mikey. Thank you very much. Yeah, our flagship show is called Raiders Fan Radio, and joining Raiders Fan Radio is this show, Mondays with Mikey and Murf, and a show called the Fan Club Blitz, where we celebrate the fan clubs from around the country, and that's hosted by our buddies at the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. All 3 of those shows are on what's called the Murf's Fan Cave Network. You can find Murf's Fan Cave anywhere. You can find a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, so please subscribe to Murf's Fan Cave there. It's MURFS Fan Cave. We have an app for Android. You can find us there if you're an Android user. Just search for Murf's Fan Cave. And then, of course, there's the Murf's Fan Cave YouTube channel, which over 1,000 of you, thank you very much, subscribe to us now with the help of Mikey and On Air Nation. And I've quickly become a fan of the live stream. So we're doing much more of that, live streaming Raiders Fan Radio. So please like and subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever you do there on YouTube. And we appreciate the support. And it's all Raiders all the time, man. That's how we roll. And so we love our silver and black and have a good time talking about it. And so, again, thank you so much for supporting Murph's Fan Cave shows.
There it is. A few links to his stuff is in the description, as it will be every week. You can find them. You know how to Google. You don't need to spell it out, Murf. It's A_M.
Well, people type Murf the wrong way. They type MURPH, right? Because that's how you spell Murphy. So I do it with the F, MURF. Nice and simple. Search for Murf and the Fan Cave, and you'll find all of our stuff.
You've heard this joke a million times, but your name is Smurf without the S.
That's exactly right. Smurf without the S. There you go. And I've never heard Murphy's Law jokes either, so maybe you could crack one of those up next time.
Murphy's Law. All right. Thank you, Zeke, for the donation. He wrote, love you guys. Really love the videos, Murf. Raider Nation representing.
Thank you very much,
Zeke, for that donation. And maybe, Murf, you'll get a donation PayPal, maybe for your channel. And they could donate to you and your channel in the future. Yeah,
I'm kicking it around. We got a few ideas working with Murph's Fan Cave. So as of right now, we're not monetized in any way, but we're considering some options. And if we do, we're going to make a charitable portion of that. So anything going forward, when we do decide to do this thing, we're going to give back. We're going to give to, I don't know, one of the players' foundations, maybe something that's related to the Raiders. Much more information on that to come, just some new ideas. And with your help, Mikey, thank you very much for the opportunities that you've made us aware of that I previously was not aware of. I mean, we've never considered monetizing Raiders Fan Radio in any way, but with your help, we're looking at doing that again. So we're going to take a lot of that and we're going to give it back to some form of charity. So thank you for your help on that and mentioning that.
No, I mean, no worries. In summary, the truth of it is you put in work and we spend money to make some of this material. And if we can get it back in any faction, at least the money we spent to make some of the shows, you need to. Then on top of that, if you're adding a charity, that's an amazing to go a long way. But lately, I've been my own charity.
Yeah.
So I'm very sorry. I'm just being
no shame in that. Hey, no shame in that, brother. This is something that you're looking at to do for a living, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
All right, so check it out. You said Murphy, and that brought me back to RoboCop. You said the name Murphy, and I was thinking RoboCop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's get started. Murph, I'm very thankful for 18 shows with somebody that's becoming a really good friend in my life. I'm very thankful for that.
Wow, back at you, brother. I'm thankful for you as well. And yeah, absolutely. I'm thankful for the opportunities that this partnership is created. And but most importantly, yeah, we've become friends over this venture as well. And so I'm appreciated to get to know you. And yeah, I think we have a pretty good time here doing Mondays with Mikey and Murf.
All right, it's time for the headlines, breadlines, deadlines. They blow my mind. And I'm actually going to sing the lyrics to Rent right now before we get into the headlines. It goes, how do you document real life when real life feeling more like fiction each day? Headlines, deadlines, breadlines blow my mind. And now this deadline, eviction or pay rent. Let's do it.
That was beautiful, man.
Hey, I love musicals. That
was awesome.
Thank you. It's just Rent is one of my favorite musicals, but I don't like paying it. Here it is. We got to start it out. I told you he's going to have cameos. We got a victory. We got to start with positivity before the headlines. Oh, thank you, God. All right, Johnny Drama for the W. All right, so these are the headlines from last week. Now we're going to get into drama. All right, last week after the game or whatever, Mark Davis talked to Paul Gutierrez, said a lot of interesting things in that article. And basically, for what it's worth, the media and a bunch of people through that article said the blame game has started because it appeared that Mark Davis called out Reggie McKenzie's plan for drafting players and all that other stuff. So Yeah, that's the statement. So the blame game has started because of all the losing, and it's horrible to see. Do you feel Mark Davis was blaming Reggie for his draft picks in that article? Will Reggie be fired? And do you like the way Mark Davis is publicly speaking about the team during this hard time, Murph?
I think that blame is probably a little bit harsh of a word for his comments that in relation to Reggie. I think they're more of an accountability statement, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that in order to be a good leader of an organization, which Mark Davis is proving to be, you have to be able to hold people accountable, and you hold them accountable by, bringing awareness to what you feel are their shortcomings. And the reason that you do that is because then the members that are on your team that do not necessarily have those shortcomings and really are providing, positivity and growth and whatever else your metrics are, that those people are then encouraged, because everyone knows when there's a slacker. Everyone knows when there's someone that's not pulling their weight, Bruce Irvin, and it leads to dysfunction, and you jettison those people that aren't. So by him bringing awareness, I think it's just bringing accountability. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And in terms of what Mark Davis's statements were to Paul Gutierrez and ESPN in this article, I think that he, if anything, has demonstrated solid leadership. And now, while that statement may seem funny or it may seem out of place, I really would encourage Raider Nation to think of it in this way, that Mark Davis is not your leader. He's not mine, right? Mark Davis is the leader of the Raiders. So he's leading coaching staffs. He's leading players. He's leading, office personnel, the guy that's parking cars, whatever. Those are the people that he's leading. And in terms of his leadership to those people, he's providing financial results, right? We know that he's added $1 billion worth of value to the organization, which helps those people, right? And he's bringing that accountability, and he's bringing stability. Now, again, people want to make fun of him for his haircut and PF Chang's and driving a minivan. There's a lot of things that you can pick on Mark Davis about, but at the end of the day, as a business leader, has he done the right thing, and is he doing the Raiders a solid here? The answer to that question is yes. So, what you do as a leader is that you have to demonstrate capability. You have to put your people in positions to be successful themselves. That's your job. You have to lift them up, and that's what he's done here, is that he's lifting them up, and then you have to take the blame for the shortcomings, and that's also what he's done. He's putting himself in between John Gruden and the critics, and look, John Gruden has been first and foremost of all of the criticism in terms of the Raiders. Now Mark Davis is putting himself in between him and his guy and creating a buffer there. And that's what leaders do. So again, I'm not saying that you always have to agree with everything the Raiders do, always agree with Mark Davis has done, but from a leadership perspective, clinically, by the textbook, is this what good leaders do? The answer to that question is yes. So I give Mark Davis props on this one.
Well, the most outspoken critic of this team has been me personally lately. But let's listen to what the critic had to say about Mark Davis and this article.
But something's going on. There was one player that was overheard by a reporter saying to another player, I got to get the bleep out of here after the game. Mark Davis met with reporters and said, I always look in the mirror, the buck stops with me. Where this team right now is my fault. We haven't been able to build a 22-man roster. We haven't been able to give this team a chance to win because the reconstruction failed. We failed from 2014 on to have a roster right now. Do we understand the implication of what he's saying? What he's saying is this is all Reggie McKenzie's fault.
Yeah.
Why didn't he fire Reggie McKenzie if this is how he believes? This tells me that he is being fed this by John Gruden. And the next act is Reggie McKenzie out and John Gruden bringing in someone that will set the table the way Gruden wants it, because all these guys who are gone were 2014 on, brought in by Reggie McKenzie. This is very ominous for Reggie McKenzie.
Yeah, it's definitely things have fallen apart. And then, of course, it's been, I think, money situations added to the fact that John Gruden hasn't handled a few situations the right way. And
it all started with Khalil Mack.
It's a disaster.
He's like the boxer.
Lost a piece of the locker room.
He's the boxer that came strutting into the ring. He got punched once with Khalil Mack, and it all fell apart after that. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I can't respond to their take on it, but it's interesting because I've been hating on Gruden, but before that, fans of my channel knew that I was definitely showing a lot of the mistakes. This is before Gruden, of Reggie McKenzie and the draft picks that they haven't panned out. And I did question why Reggie possibly wasn't fired when Gruden came in, because most coaches that come in want their own staff, their new, a la what Gruden is honestly doing. I think Mark Davis kept Reggie on because Mark Davis wants to be a good guy and all that. But now it seems like it's coming to a head. And I personally just think Reggie should have been fired when Gruden came on. So now we don't have the back and forth, of why he wasn't fired and all that. So I think it's coming to a head, and I think it is going to happen. I wish it would happen right now, rip the Band-Aid off. The season's already been bad. But I definitely think Reggie will be fired at the end of the season, whether that's for John Gruden or taking the blame or whatever, but I think it's going to happen. And in summary to this article, I just wanted to say that I wish Mark Davis, he said he didn't know anything about football. I wish he would be more like not in the public right now. Like, we're losing. I wish he would just stay away because, again, he's going to say something that's going to be blown up. And I wish there was a CEO, somebody that would be the face instead of Mark Davis. I just want Mark Davis to just sit in the shadows and run the team. I don't know. Those are just my quick thoughts. Any last words to the blame game or whatever's going on?
No, I think you stated it pretty well, and I think that's fair, and I don't think, it's out of the realm of possibility that Reggie's not going to see Las Vegas. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think ultimately that's where this thing shakes out. And I think we see a director of player personnel or something like heck. And it might even be Reggie still staying on staff. He's just going to have a different role.
I wouldn't stay there if I was Reggie. I'd get on.
Well, and that may be the case, that his ego may not allow for him to do that. But at the end of the day, again, we talk about accountability here. Who else is responsible for this roster? I mean, the Raiders still, Mikey, don't have any production at linebacker. We still have. I mean, I could go. I'll save everybody going down the list here. But who else is responsible for this? I mean, the Raiders had 400. Listen to this. They had 452 snaps yesterday from first-year players. That's the most in game since the 2014 finale when they had 478. Reggie's been around since 2012. How many players has he been responsible for acquiring? And granted, he's hit on some players, the Rodney Hudsons and Kelechi Osemele's of the world. But I mean, the misses have been far outweigh the hits on this thing in his tenure. So who else's fault is it going to be? And I think that and I like Reggie, but I don't think it's going to work out for him in the long run.
I mean, look, I agree. Like, I don't need to talk about it. It didn't work out. I still think Reggie, maybe should just move on because all his picks are being purged, even though they weren't good or they're clearly not as good. They're being purged, and just save some grace because he's sitting there taking it. He's taking all the punches from Gruden, talking about his team, whether it's well-deserved, which it is, but still he's taking all the punches, and his ego's got to be killing him.
I would think so, and I think for best case scenario for everybody involved, I think Reggie probably ought to step down or move on to something else. And I think and reason why is that, frankly, and I feel for him because I like him and I like his, you know what I mean? His history in the league and, all the way going back to Tennessee and all that. Like, I like everything that he brings to the table, but what has he got to win in this? That if the Raiders turn it around, right? And the whatever happens with the team, he's not going to get any of the credit. Right? Because it's Gruden's team and it's Gruden's influence and Gruden. So he's not going to get any of the credit. And then if the team doesn't do it, he's going to continue to be the scapegoat. And he's now, all that said, he hasn't been taking a lot of hits in the media, right? No one's doing podcasts calling for Reggie McKenzie's job. Everyone's focusing on John Gruden and now Mark Davis. Like, Reggie's going to come out of this, I don't want to say unscathed, but relatively, at least in the eyes of the media and the general perception. You don't hear fans at the game booing Reggie McKenzie. You know what I'm saying?
That's why the blame game has started. Again, it started with Gruden in the offseason once he was hired. He started, talking about the draft picks against Reggie before the season started, and now it continued with Mark Davis, hence the word, the blame game. So let's just move on. The blame game, again, continued last week, and it went into this week with Derek Carr versus Gruden, and we'll get more into that later for the game review. But the Raiders' offensive coordinator whether that's a title-only position is to be disputed. But he said in the press conference after last week's game, we weren't able to get to that headline, but he was displeased with Derek Carr's fourth down decision to throw the ball down at the feet of Richard. And let's just quickly hear from that report from Derek Carr explaining what he did or something like that. I forget the audio, but let's hear it.
It's like that, like though, just Derek Carr all year long, where you scratch your head and go, "Damn, this isn't the same guy we saw 2 years ago that was in the MVP conversation."
After the game, when he was speaking to reporters, he said, "Deep down, I'm good. I promise. It just kind of bugged me. Nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to tell you."
Something happened that just frustrated me. Deep down, I'm good. I promise. I promise. Something happened that it just kind of bugged me, and had nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to tell you. So,
nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to tell you. So something's going on, clearly, and we don't know what it is.
Yeah, so it was just interesting to get all that information, and unfortunately, we had to see Derek Carr frustrated after that, check down. But his brother also defended him and everything on screen because all the fans were saying, why didn't Derek Carr throw it away, this or that? So everybody was second-guessing everybody. And that's what the blame game has started. And that's what's scary about it is because, poor Derek Carr, poor Gruden, poor everybody. Every decision is being second-guessed when you're losing. And he even had to have his brother come to his defense. And it just felt like he's in prison. That's why I have that little picture that Derek Carr's in prison. But I don't like that the OC said that publicly. So that's where I was getting to. I don't like that the OC said that against Derek Carr because he's already hearing it from everybody. And it just, are they blaming Carr? I don't know. Just your thoughts on this whole situation.
I mean, everybody's going to blame the quarterback in this. And, it's last week's news, so I don't want to, dwell on it for too long. But I'll just say this, when you're losing, you're fair to any type of criticism. And in relation to what Derek had to say specifically, somebody did something and Derek wasn't going to call him out in the media. I'm sure they handled this in the locker room. And apparently whatever it was that got handled, it didn't have any lingering effects because everybody was singing Kumbaya on the sidelines this week in Arizona. So I think at this point going forward, this is a non-story.
But that was the play call where he threw it at the feet. Then he walked to the sidelines, and then Gruden and Carr got into an in public whatever tussle. And then he was asked about it in the press conference, and he said something happened, but it wasn't to me.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he liked the play call. I think that it was a trash play call, frankly. And whether it was Olsen or it was Gruden that called it, I mean, when in the defense of the play of what Carr did, they said, well, the play was designed to go to Jalen and Jalen was covered. So that if you're calling in a play on when the game's on the line and you only have one option for the quarterback, then that's stupid. Like what? I don't think anybody could defend that. And so whether that was Gruden or Olsen or whatever, so I think that's probably what frustrated Carr mostly in that thing. So yeah, but again, I think that's last week's news. So
yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that. It is what it is. But it continued into this week because last week's news was him and Gruden on the sidelines, and that'll continue as we'll talk about in a minute. Le'Veon, let's go to a different subject. Le'Veon Bell to the Raiders. Odd makers like the Raiders' chances of picking up Le'Veon Bell, but do you want this to happen? Yes or no?
I don't know. I mean, obviously with this week's comments, Gruden has, found himself in with Jalen Richard quite a bit. So comparing him to Charlie Garner, Charlie was an electrifying player for us. So if he's drawing those kinds of comparisons, then I think that that spells good news for somebody like Richard going forward. And if you're talking about coupling him with somebody like Chris Warren Jr. III, I'm all about it. So does that provide a need for somebody like a Lev Bell? I don't know. I mean, of course you would love to see him in silver and black because he's an amazing player, but he's going to seek a long-term contract. He's on the wrong side of 25, so he's getting up there close to 30. And by all accounts, for the history of the league, aside from the occasional exception like Adrian Peterson, for the most part, when players are 30 years old, their productivity declines quite a bit. Of course, and Marshawn is a little bit of an example of that as well. But all that said, is that worth $17 million a year? Because that's what the price tag is going to be for Lev Bell. By all accounts, that's what he's going to ask for. So as the Raiders? Do you say, well, we didn't have to pay Amari Cooper that $17 a year that he would have wanted, so instead we're going to give it to Lev Bell. Amari Cooper is going to have questionable production. We know that we're going to get production out of Le'Veon Bell. I don't know. Is that worth it? I don't know. Are the Raiders going to be willing to pony up that kind of money for, say, like a 3-year deal, because you figure that Lev Bell will have that kind of productivity for probably that before he starts to fall off a cliff, again, like all running backs do. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's as much of a priority for them in the offseason. And here's what I think ultimately, Mikey. I think someone's going to do something stupid for Lev Bell, just like the Bears did something stupid for Khalil Mack, just like the Dolphins did something for Ndamukong Suh, just like, whoever. There's lots of examples where the league has done. There's always one team that's willing to do something stupid for that one player, and you watch this guy be a Jet for $18 million a year or something crazy like that. I just feel like there's somebody out there that's got a rookie quarterback that doesn't have to pay, their quarterback $25 million, and they'll bust the bank wide open for Le'Veon Bell, and I don't think that's going to be the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't want it to happen. I don't see it happening. Le'Veon Bell was, as reported to the coach of the Steelers, as holding the team hostage. I don't think Gruden will let anybody hold him hostage in this situation. Plus, again, we got rid of Khalil Mack, Cooper, for all the agent issues and money issues, and Le'Veon Bell clearly has an agent that's trying to get money, or he's trying to get money. And will it really help out this team? If we're a lame duck team next year, yes, it'll be good for the fans if we're in Oakland to have a star name to sell jerseys for 1 year, but it ain't going to be a 1-year contract. We're moving on to Vegas. I do not see the Raiders signing Le'Veon Bell in any situational category. And if they do, Gruden will be second guessed for the Khalil Mack trade again. He'll be second guessed for Amari Cooper again. And then Raider players will be like, man, you got rid of players that we already know for this guy that holds the Steelers hostage. I don't see it as a good scenario in any faction. I do not want Le'Veon Bell. It will not work. Let's go with the young players in another rebuilding year. Okay, no Sunday night football. This pissed me off, Murf. Like, literally, I know it's a bad season. The Raiders don't look good. And the NFL wants ratings and all this other stuff. But this was the game for me. They flexed out our Week 14 game from Sunday Night Football to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The Raider young players don't get to experience Sunday Night Football against the Steelers in a legacy-type rival game. The young players with Gruden, trying to win and build chemistry, they don't have that game anymore because the NFL hypocrisy took it away for ratings. And I understand why they did it, but I don't like it. I'm pissed. And this affects a lot of people's wallets. Yeah, the NFL will make more money having a different game for advertisers, but a lot of Raider fans had travel plans and bought tickets, and now that's done. What is your feeling about the NFL flexing out games and doing this? Do you like it? Do you agree? What's up?
Well, as a Raiders fan, I always want to see them on prime time, right? Any fan wants to see their team play in prime time. Say that 5 times fast. But, but it's not surprising. And so am I upset by it? No, because 2-8. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason at all to have an expectation otherwise. The Raiders are playing terrible, man, and they're not going to put the Raiders on prime time. They don't put anybody, and it's not like the Raiders were saying, look, there's a lot of bias against the Raiders in terms of the NFL and media coverage and all that, but this is not one of those cases. This has everything to do with the fact that, the Steelers are killing it right now, and the Raiders are not. They're awful. This will not be a good game. So why would you want to parade that on prime time when instead you could put, I don't remember who they got flexed out for, but there are much more compelling matchups in terms, because you got to remember the people that are watching Monday Night Football, or not Monday, well, sometimes Monday, but Sunday as well. These are the more casual fans. These are the fans that tune in for a game a week, right? And the people that tune in for a game a week don't want to see the Steelers, beat the Raiders' ass by 40 points. You know what I mean? So this is not surprising to me whatsoever. Does it suck as a Raiders fan that we don't get to see our team on primetime? Sure, but I'm not shook up by it by any means.
I know. It's just really sad to think that the NFL constantly puts money in their wallets while disregarding,
it's a business.
the actual fans, just like they did with Mexico, this past week.
But listen, here's, and I talk on our show on Raiders Fan Radio to listeners a lot about this, is that you got to remember the NFL is not a government. It's business. It's a private owned entity. It's owned by the owners, and Roger Goodell is appointed commissioner by the owners, and they're going to make decisions that are best for the owners. They're not going to ever make a decision that's best for you. There's not the proverbial you, the fan. There's never going to make a decision that does anything for them other than make them money. The answer to that question of the NFL every time is follow the money trail. And when you get to the end of the money trail, that's when you know why they made any certain decision. So as fans, we've got to approach it with that expectation that they're only going to ever do anything to make money, whether that's cancer awareness, salute to service, what the national anthem, flexing out games, all of it boils down to money. So if you want to rally against something, that's what it is to rally against. But if you're doing it, then again, you're answering all the same question. Where's the dollar?
Did you hear the report that a bunch of NFL teams got money from the NFL to hire people to play soldiers? This is a couple years ago, but in a couple of stadiums, they hired either ex-soldiers or gave money or something to play soldiers in the salute to service halftime spectacular. That's a scary story. There's plenty of servicemen to do that initially.
Yes, and the worst part of it, Mikey, was that a lot of that, and it's changed now because they got exposed, but because a lot of that was paid by the United States military to the NFL as advertisers. So that's all right. That stuff, those halftime reunions and all that stuff that were those feel-good stories, those amazing things, and thankfully those stories were real, but they were put on display because the NFL was getting some change from the NFL was getting change from the military. Well, thankfully now that's been eliminated, but that was the genesis of all of this stuff. So again, the answer to the question of the NFL always is, where's the dollar?
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about that, they're taking money no matter what, even from military and all that. Man, that's crazy. Let's play this article, or again, from Pro Football Talk. I know you don't like all of, these statements, but I watch Pro Football Talk. So this is one of the only shows that I really like to listen to regardless of issues. But they brought up a situation where it made me think that, Gruden and Mark Davis might be losing the power struggle versus the player agents and the players themselves this past season. And you don't want to lose the power, the bargaining power against these players and agents. And maybe Mark Davis and John Gruden are losing that power. We'll discuss it right after this clip.
After the Raiders' most recent loss, and they've lost all but one game this year, owner Mark Davis sat with Paul Gutierrez of ESPN.com, a very wide-ranging interview that touched on a lot of subjects, one of which Mark Davis's belief that John Gruden, the head coach of the team, should not be blamed for the struggles of the team and also for the trades that sent Khalil Mack to Chicago and Amari Cooper to Dallas. Now, the way Davis told the story, it meshed with everything that I had heard all along, that the Raiders tried to sign Khalil Mack back in February. He didn't want what they were offering. They took that money, they used it on other players, and they assumed that Mack would show up and take the $13.846 million he was due to make in the fifth year of his rookie contract. Once it became clear that he wasn't going to do it, the Raiders decided to trade him. And then, because they would have been dealing with the same agent when trying to extend Amari Cooper, because Joel Siegel represents both Cooper and Mack, they decided preemptively to trade Cooper to avoid that headache. That sends a horrible message to the rest of the league. Now, look, the message to the fan base, leave John Gruden alone. Okay, fine. It's not like he's getting fired anyway. But to the rest of the league, to the players and the agents, the message is clear. You can play hardball with the Raiders, and you will win because they will blink. And at some point, they're going to have to take a stand with one of these guys, and they're going to have to stare them down. Even if it means having a guy skip a whole season, the Raiders are going to have to do it. Otherwise, the reputation is going to be cemented that if you play rough with the Raiders, they are going to give in and give you what you want. And that is not a good way to ensure that the team becomes the powerhouse that Gruden and Davis surely hope it will be.
Here's the interesting point. I understand what he's saying, that John Gruden and Mark Davis, they look bad, that they're not fighting the players more. And at the time, I was like, I agreed. But after listening to this, I became on the John Gruden side. he got value while he was going to be held hostage by Khalil Mack. So Gruden and Mark Davis, they had the wherewithal or the precursor. You look, we're not going to win. He's going to hold out like Le'Veon Bell, be gone the whole season. Then he'll become a free agent, and we won't get any value from him. Yes, it looks bad to everybody, but they got the first-round picks, and they sold him before he was supposed to be sold, and they got good value. It's funny how this is bad about Gruden and Mark Davis losing power, but now it made me go, now I'm happy we traded Khalil Mack because we got the value. But it's interesting. Moving forward, are they losing power to other players? Should they make them hold out, again, in a fifth-year option or whatever that? But I loved it. Let's go.
Yeah, I appreciate your stance on that, Mikey, because I agree wholeheartedly that, look, you have to set a precedent for your organization. And again, this is business. So you have to set a precedent. It's not just this one particular deal. It's every deal that happens from here out. And here's the dirty little secret that Florio, chose to, keep from his comments there, from his evaluation of this, is that not every player is Khalil Mack. Not every player is even Amari Cooper. When you look at the roster of athletes that these agents represent, they don't represent a whole crap load of superstars. In fact, the majority of them are mid-level to low-level players because that's what the league is made up of. It's made up of these mid to low-level players. So the idea that, they gave in to the agent. Now, guess what? The agents need the teams way more than the teams need the agents, because the teams are going to populate their teams with players, right? And there are lots of agents and lots of players out there, and Joel Siegel is one fish. And Joel Siegel is the agent that represents Cooper and represents Mack, and he doesn't swing that big of a hammer except for Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. So yes, there are Rosenhauses of the world, and there are definitely big time agents that represent big time players. I understand that concept. But when you look at how diluted the pool is, it's a lot. There are tons and tons of agents, and I've gotten to know some of the agents here over the past year. I've dealt with a lot of them in terms of interviews for our show. One even Alexa Stabler, Kenny Stabler's daughter, is now a sports agent that's been on our show. And there are tons of them. And when you listen to someone like her, she's fantastic, by the way, when you listen to her talk about it, it's not like you don't just have like an agent representing like all these huge high level players. So look, it's more of a grind. It's more of a grind than what Florio is leading on to. And I'm surprised because he's a lawyer himself, which is essentially what all the agents are, is that they're lawyers. So it's a lot more of a grind than that. And at the end of the day, the teams don't need the agents nor the player as much as the converse of that is the truth. So I think the Raiders did an absolute fair thing. They did the right thing. They set the precedent. They let you're not going to play hardball with the Raiders. And like you said, Mikey, very eloquently put, the Raiders got the exchange of value. And that's about, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Because what did the Steelers now get for Le'Veon Bell? What do they have to show for him? Right?
But they still, I don't know the Le'Veon Bell situation, but they can still tag him somehow. There's some sort of a tag that they can still do.
And they'll get a compensatory pick, right? I believe they'll still be eligible for that based on where he signs and for how much and all that. So there's definitely going to still be some value, but not like you're not going to get 2 first rounders. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to get, or 1 first rounder even. They're not going to get that level of value.
Yeah, I don't like the situation. Again, looking back in retrospect, I don't like that we traded Mack. I still don't. It messed up this team, chemistry, whatever. But again, we don't know, or we're thinking that really Mack wasn't going to show up, hold the team hostage. So now I just got to say, man, I'm thankful that we got, some value for that situation. Yeah. Beyond all the headache and heartache we're having right now, it's just, now looking back, it's like, I'm just happy with it. But moving forward, the team looks still bad. So the free agents might in the future, if they want out of Oakland or whatever the situation is, they can hold the Raiders hostage and win. They'll be traded or whatever. And I just don't like that power struggle that, is going to go on. But like he said eloquently, don't with Gruden. He said, don't with Gruden. So there you go. Galvanizing, Raider versus Rams 2020 Super Bowl. Thank you for the donation, my brother. All right, here's an interesting topic. The Raiders went from one of the best offensive lines into one of the worst. How and why? What are your views on the offensive line?
I think first and foremost, the injury bug got him. We saw Colton Miller, grinding it out yesterday. And I think, he's done a pretty good job playing through injury. Obviously they've struggled as a unit, but I think he and his performance, based on his injury, I think that he's generating a lot of mental and physical toughness that will carry through his career. I think Osemele is another guy who's dealing with injury. Again, I don't think he'll tell you this if you asked him, and I don't think the Raiders are saying it, but when you see him whiff on some of these, he's just given up sacks that frankly he doesn't give up. And what is it, 3 now in 2 weeks? You just don't see him play like that. They seem to be better in the run blocking than they are in pass protection, but I think that's been a lot. And then we got unproven talent in Brandon Parker, who played better against the Cardinals, but other than that has struggled this year. And frankly, right tackle, even in the years that we were one of the better offensive lines, right tackle was still a position of struggle. And we had Austin Howard over there who was giving up sacks like crazy. So, Gabe Jackson, I think, is and Rodney Hudson are by far the best and most consistent, especially Hudson. I mean, he's the Pro Bowler of this team and probably the best player at his position of all of the Raiders. I'm such a huge fan of his, and especially for this year. But then secondarily, then Gabe Jackson. But as far as your line goes, lines are a unit. They are one more so than any other position in all of football. It's all about cohesion. It's all about gel. It's all about operating as one. And you have to be dependent on your brother next to you to do his job as he is dependent on you to do yours. And without having a lot of reps, which the Raiders were limited to this last week and because of the fires and whatnot, it's just, it takes a toll on the team, man. It takes a toll on the line. And so that with the injury bug, I think that ultimately, Mikey, there's 3 or 4 different things that all kind of fit into this. But I think when you look at it, you take a step back and you look at all the things that have happened. I mean, Penn's now been out, right? There's just been a lot going on with this line from where we were at 2 years ago to where we're at now.
Yeah, I just don't want to blame injuries because the players are still playing. Whether they're injured or not, they're still in the game.
Yeah.
So I don't want to blame it on injuries. I personally don't understand how we went from one of the best to the worst. We pretty much got the same offensive line, if not, according to paper, better than we did the last 2 seasons. Because we added a first-round tackle, supposedly. Again, they're supposed to be good. Then on top of that, we got the big boys up the middle, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson, Osemele. They're Pro Bowlers. Then we had Austin Howard, for a couple of years, and this year we moved Penn to right tackle. Even though he doesn't play that position better, he's better than Austin Howard that we had 2 years ago. So in technical stance, you would think that this offensive line would be at least the same or that much better with a first-round talent and with Khalil Penn or whatever, or even a Brandon Parker at the tackles. But we're not. So then if you think about that, they should be as good or a little layoff from last season, you got to think what's going on. So the passion is not there, whether it be the media, the trading of Khalil Mack or whatever, the friends in the locker room. The passion is gone for some players. Then on top of that, Tom Cable, he was outed at Seattle and fired, and they had one of the worst offensive lines the last 2 seasons with Russell Wilson running his heart out, and the scheme probably changed again for the Raiders. So now the passion is gone. Tom Cable is coming off some pretty bad years in Seattle, and the scheme changed again. And then Derek Carr, for all his frustrations, they're not all on the same page. And it just looks sad. And that's in summary on how and why I believe we're one of the worst this year. Is because of all those things. Well, but I'm not going to blame the injuries only.
Well, and I do. I'm willing to take those into account. But I will say this, though, Mikey. If injuries aside, then absolutely it's on coaching. And the reason I say that is that anytime you see regression, it's typically a coaching issue. It's almost always a coaching issue. Now, there are other factors that can play, and, you can't, gauge someone's heart and where they're at mentally and whatnot. But those things aside, if it's purely just from a physical performance standpoint, then, yeah, it comes down to coaching. And I'm with you. And I'm not I'm just not that impressed with Tom Cable. And I never really was, I don't think, to begin with. And I'm trying to think and give a fair assessment back to him even before, I did the whole interview series with Randy Hansen and really got the lowdown and dirty on Tom Cable. Before all of that, just thinking back in my Raider fandom, I don't ever remember being overly impressed with Tom Cable on anything. I mean, he kind of fell into a situation.
Maybe he needs Marshawn Lynch. That's why he looked so good in Seattle, because of Marshawn.
And you mentioned Russell Wilson and his escapability. You know what I mean? We don't have a quarterback like that. And Russell Wilson he's probably the most elusive quarterback in the NFL, right? So you don't really, he's susceptible to the same pressure that Carr is, but without that, elusiveness, he's able to, it's not as big of an impact on the actual outcome of the game, right? Because he can create a little more than somebody like DC can. I don't know, maybe I would put Aaron Rodgers in there. Aaron Rodgers is pretty good back there as far as having some wiggle to him in the pocket. But outside of that, Russell Wilson's the guy. And so you're right. It cures a lot of ails there because you have a guy that's back there taking snaps that can make up for a weak offensive line. So I'm with you, man. I just get the feeling like Cable's not around for long. Don't you get that? Don't you feel like he's going to be gone next year?
I hope not. Look, I'm tired of non-consistency. Like I said, I would hope that Gruden, with his coaching staff in his first year, would have a plan in place. Whether they play good this year or next year or not, I want consistency. I want the same coaches, whether winning or losing, for 5 years at least with Gruden. So that's one good thing about Gruden having 10 years. I'm proud of that. I got to be positive. Now I'm like, all right, I'm done. He's got 10 years. I want 10 years of Gunther, Cable, and Gruden, and let's see what happens. Let's go. All right, speaking of 10 years with the Raiders, there's a lawsuit that possibly will be filed where Oakland and the fans might sue for the naming rights for the Raiders. The Cleveland Browns, they lost, or they were given the name, but they sued when the Browns left to Baltimore. Cleveland sued. I don't know. They kept the name. I really don't know all the details. I should have looked it up. But there's a possibility of a lawsuit against Mark Davis, whether he owns the name or not, which clearly I believe they do. But there's a possibility of a lawsuit, where the Raiders could lose the name Raiders. It could set a precedent. I don't know. So I'm asking you the question, what is your thinking of the lawsuit? And if the Raiders lost the actual name Raiders, I don't know. You don't have to answer it, but would you still be a fan?
Do you want me to play this clip first from Too Short?
Do we? Oh, yeah. Let's listen. This is what got me reading about the Raiders name. Too Short, the legend in Oakland, started talking about how he doesn't like the Raiders anymore, and he changed the name. So that got me into this. I'm sorry. Let's go.
Too Short has renamed the Raiders Too Short.
Yeah, man. So
man, what is this?
Raider fans.
I'm Raider Nation, silver and black to the core.
Okay.
But lately, with all the new developments, we have renamed the Raiders. They are now called the Las Vegas Draft Picks.
Why, Short?
Now.
Well, they're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Let's say it a few times. Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders.
I was at
it don't
New
match.
York.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
I was doing Sway in the Morning in New York, and his sound guy was just messing with him. His engineer guy was messing with him. He had a Las Vegas Raider hat on.
Oh.
They're making those already?
Oh, yeah. They have merch, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right. I saw that. That's disrespectful. They ain't even there yet.
Yeah, so I think they should be like the Vegas Jackpots or something like that.
Vegas Jackpots. The Vegas slots or something? I don't know.
Something, yeah, slot machines. There you go. Las Vegas.
You still wearing Raider gear, though, right?
Well, now we just wear silver and black. We don't really wear the logo a lot.
Wow. He goes, we only wear silver and black. We don't wear the logo anymore. I mean, so that got me thinking, if the Raiders changed their name to like Las Vegas High Rollers or something, and the lawsuit pretend it was given to the fans or whatever, I don't know. Would you still be a fan?
So let me go one at a time here, because this is kind of, that's okay. This is kind of a sensitive subject with me, not to get all crazy about it, but I will. So first off, those hats, that's something that's not an officially licensed NFL merch yet. And you and I know that because when we went shopping for Raiders stuff, when I was down there in LA and we went to City Walk and all that, we took notice that nothing says Oakland anymore. Everything just says Raiders. And everything. So no matter what you buy, so there's no city identified. It's just Raiders merch. So whatever they found, that was just something that somebody had made up. All right. So the question is this, and I knew this was on the rundown, and so just bear with me, Mikey, because I might ramble for a second here, but because this is kind of
it's a sensitive subject.
It really is. And listen, I would normally say I don't want to over dramatize this, but anybody that's watching this show, you'll feel at least where I'm coming from. Not that you'll necessarily agree, but you'll at least feel where I'm coming from. And in terms of will I be a fan of the team after they relocate? Well, if they're the Las Vegas Raiders after they relocate, of course I'm going to be a fan. I am a Raiders fan. I've been a Raiders fan my entire life since I knew the Raiders were a thing. I don't know how to just turn it off. They permeate everything in my life. And after Christ follower and husband and dad, that's next is Raider fan, right? Like, I mean, I put that ahead of what I do for a living. I do this with my hobby because I love this football team. So I don't know how to be anything but a Raiders fan more than any other sport, more than anything. As much as I love the A's and I like the Warriors, I'm a Raiders fan. So to just turn it off because they're moving to Las Vegas, I can't do that. But the question now is, first off, I don't think it's going to happen because I just don't think that the Raiders are going to lose the lawsuit and they're going to remarket. But if they did, so let's play pretend for a second, and they move to Las Vegas and they become the high rollers or the gamblers or whatever, that will be the thing that will test my fandom. There's nothing the team can do to ever test my fandom, from performance to player personnel to coaching to whatever. Nothing will test my fandom except that. And I don't, Mikey, think I have a good answer because I don't think I could be a fan of a team not called the Raiders. Because otherwise, I grew up in the Bay Area, so my ties to the team are because they were the team from where I'm from, right? So, and then in secondary to that is the color scheme, the imagery, the you know what I mean? All the mystique of the Raiders is what I love after the fact that they're from where I'm from. So if you take away where I'm from, and then you take away the mystique of them being the Raiders and replace that with, the gamblers or the high roll, whatever, I don't know what I have left. I don't know what attachment I have left. And I'll still be a Raiders fan, and I'll still do Raiders fan radio. We just won't talk about whatever that next iteration of the team is. Because, and I think there's precedent for that, because you mentioned the Browns. When the Browns moved to Baltimore, did Cleveland fan become Ravens fan? No. When the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis, did some fans stay? Yes, until they got the Ravens, right? So
because of the name change, because they kept the Colts, possibly.
Exactly. So I think I would go the route of Browns fan, that if when the Browns left and became the Ravens, did the Browns fans still support that team? The answer was no, a resounding no. I think I'm going the same route, man. And I don't know who I would root for. I got an idea. I'm not going to say it on the show because I don't want to get killed on the chat. But I think I don't think I could be a fan. I just don't know. I don't think, as much as I like Gruden and Carr and all what connectivity is left for me to that team if you stop being the Raiders and you move cities? I don't know, Mikey. Yep. I don't know. That's a really, really tough question. And I can't see the chat live, but I always go back and read it, and I'm really curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Because, and here's the last thing I'll say about it, Mikey, I don't think there's a right answer or wrong answer. When it comes to fandom, I don't think that you can be a true fan or a real fan or whatever your fandom is to you. As long as you are comfortable with it, then that's okay with it, and I'm comfortable with it too. So I don't think there's a right way and a wrong way. I'm just curious to what other people's thoughts are. What are you going to do with your fandom if they change their name?
Yeah, that's why when Too Short said it, he goes, I'm going to rename the team to the Las Vegas Jackpots. And it bothered me because Too Short is a symbolism of the Raiders, and he was denouncing the logo. He was actually denouncing the actual Raider logo, which kind of what I had to do on my channel. Like, I can't wear the logo anymore. From the lawyers. So they made me a non-fan. And then I just started thinking when I read that lawsuit thing that might happen, I started thinking about the Browns. And then it came up with the question. I'm like, what if the Raiders were not the Raiders? It's a tough question. And a lot of people got mad at me for making the video because they don't like those questions. Well, you don't have to answer it, but it's a scary question. And I wanted to find out the answer personally within my soul.
What's yours?
I've been dealing with hatred toward the Raiders organization and the NFL because of everything that's happened to me. So then I started thinking, would I be a fan? And after I posed this question, the answer is no. I cannot follow Mark Davis. I cannot follow John Gruden in the decision-making, and I'm a Raider. I'm an LA Raider, basically, because that's what my memories of it. But I included the Oakland history because they moved back to Oakland and all that. But if there is no name Raiders, I'm like you, Murf. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I won't become a Charger fan or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. I can't do it. But somebody posed a question, since we're in pretend world, which I don't think this will happen, but who knows? It's a weird world. We live in the Matrix. So would they keep the shield and the silver and black colors, but be called the Las Vegas High Rollers? Would they keep the shield? Would you still be a fan? I don't know.
I don't think they can. I think that's part of, as you know, more than anybody, that's part of the logo, the actual shape of the shield. So no, and the actual color scheme, as you know, as well, is part of. Do you know
how they came up with the logo or trademark? According to fans, they're saying the city council in Oakland named the Raiders because people were like, Mark Davis and Al Davis named the Raiders. According to a lot of reports on my forums, the city council renamed them the Raiders after the Oakland Seniors.
That's correct. They were the Seniors was going to be the original name, and then the Raiders, and then Dick Romanski, longtime equipment manager for the Raiders, is the one that actually designed the logo. He's the one that actually penned up the pirate and whatnot. And when you look at the Raiders color scheme back in the day, it was red and gold or whatever when they first started. And it was Al who decided to then go with silver and black. And I forget what team. There was a team out there that he was actually influenced by to go with the silver and black color scheme to change it up. But that's all. It's absolutely was done mostly in-house, because you're right. And that's a very little known fact that they used to, that the original name of the Raiders was the Seniors. But I'm with you, dude. It's the toughest question in terms of fandom. It's the toughest question. That's why I say, and I don't think anybody's wrong for feeling however they feel. If you just want to be like, no, that's still my team. And okay, well, I don't think I can get on board with that though. And I would be willing to bet, Mikey, that although there will be some that of course could support them no matter what, I think most of them are going to be like you and me. I think most people look, I promise you, it doesn't get any deeper in your soul and spirit than you almost got me cursing, than the effing Raiders are in me, man. And I'm willing to let it go if they become something else. I think that knowing that's what it stirs up in me, I'm willing to bet that as most everybody else is the same way.
Yeah, it's just scary because if the lawsuit goes through, there is a precedent set by the Browns for that to possibly happen. And you never know with lawyers and whatever. And, with the Raiders being named in Oakland by the fans or Romanski, like you said, there could be a 5% chance that the Raiders name somehow, if there is a lawsuit, that stays with the city of Oakland and the fans. So it's a scary question. But let's move on.
Hopefully it doesn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the odds are slim that it happens. But
me too. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But we live in the Matrix. So
we live in the Matrix. That was fun. We played pretend. Now let's quit it.
I mean, if Mikey Raider, the 100% ultimate fan that posted videos and trademark, that if I did it just to make people happy about the Raiders and get hype for news coverage and all that, if I can be sued by my actual team and lose for being a fan, you never know what'll happen in this world of business. Okie dokie. Maurice Hurst, man, he probably has the most sacks among rookie interior defenders. This story was from last week. He got another sack this week where he did the belly rub. But according to Pro Football Focus, he is tied, or he's probably in the lead now, for most sacks and one of the best rookie interior defenders this season. Thoughts on Maurice Hurst this year?
Maurice Hurst needs one more sack to beat Khalil Mack's rookie sack number, and he's a defensive tackle, not a defensive end / linebacker. So, I've been saying it from the day that we drafted him, and I'm not saying this to be like, oh, look, I was right. I don't mean it that way. I was just a big fan of this pick, and I was shocked that because of the condition that they claimed, or not claimed, it was a real condition with his heart, but it was a very common thing, and I just am shocked still to this day that he dropped the amount that he did into the 5th round. And after watching the All or Nothing series with Michigan football and seeing who he was as a person and how he was as a player, it blows my mind that he fell to the 5th round. I'm happier than crap that he did, because now he's a Raider. But this guy, Mikey, has just been one of my favorite picks of late for the Raiders. It was such a position of need for us. And as nice as PJ Hall has been at times, this is the dude, man. Maurice Hurst is awesome. And he's just, he's a fun guy to root for. He's a fun guy to watch play. And, man, I'm just excited at the prospect of his career and where this thing is going to go. And, again, especially that he's going to outperform Khalil Mack this year. That's solid. That's doing us a solid as fans, right? Thank you for that, Mo Hurst.
Yeah, so we actually forgot we were supposed to say something we're thankful for after every headline.
Oh.
So I forgot. So Murf, I'm very thankful for the mini Nintendos and the mini PlayStations that are coming out to get my retro gaming on. I'm very thankful for that. It's been making me feel happy.
Oh, there you go. That's very, very cool. I'm gonna thank first and foremost, man. I know Raider Nation, but I'm going to thank my Lord and Savior, man. I've become a Christ follower in my life, and I was not a church person growing up, but I have become as I've gotten older, and just the grace and mercy and love is just unprecedented. It's been an amazing transformation of my life, and so that before anything is what I'm most thankful for.
There we go. And then we go from something very amazing to mockery. Rob Lowe mocked the Raiders this week, an actor, and he said, just to everybody know, also, I am available and very capable of coaching the Oakland Raiders to a 1-8 record for $100 million. So, with losing comes mockery from C-list, D-list.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever met Rob Lowe in your travels as an actor?
No, but I love him from Wayne's World. I'm a big Wayne's World fan, so I remember him from Wayne's World.
That was his best role, wasn't it? That's an amazing movie still. Still to this day, holds up very well.
He's still a heartthrob to a lot of people. What is he, 50?
He's got to be much older than that. He's a lot older than I am, and I'm almost that.
Oh, wow. We got a huge donation from Watch Raider. He said, what's up, Raider Nation? Mikey, get a show together to have me on. So Watch, it'll have to be Mondays with Mikey and Murf and Watch. How about that?
Deal.
But
we love Watts Raider. The first time you and I ever did a show together was a Raiders Roundtable, and Watts Raider was part of that, and he's awesome, man. I had a great time getting to know him. Absolutely. That's cool, Mikey.
Yeah. No, he's a great dude, but me and him, we'd probably go at it because we really got some differing opinions on a lot of subjects, but he's a quality dude, and you just got to love the heart and soul from everybody. Watch Raider, we'll talk. I just don't know what I'm doing with this channel recently. Forgive me, my brother. But thank you for the donation, and I'll be sure to reciprocate some of it with Murf, I promise you.
Yeah, thank goodness Rob Lowe is 10 years older than I am, so he's in his mid-50s. So I gave away my age there, but yeah.
Thank you, Watch Raider. We'll discuss it, brother. I just don't know what I'm doing with my channel and everything. I'm at a weird place, guys. Forgive me. All right, we're finally into the game recap, even an hour into the show. So let's literally push through this. Here's the headline. The Raiders get a big victory, a nail-biter in the last second versus a field goal. And, of course, we have to have the Johnny drama. We got to do it again. When he says, oh, thank God, I don't know. It just means so much.
Thank you, God. Victory!
I love it. People posted that on Twitter for me and you. They posted the victory.
I saw that. Yeah, that was very cool.
I love it. So the Raiders had to cancel practice 2 times in a row. Basically, they had a walkthrough for 3 days, which maybe helped the players, feel that much better for this week's game. Versus, again, they are a desperate Arizona Cardinals team, and they're not playing as good. But look, we played against a team that was just as bad as us and we got the victory. So that means we're that much better. That's very, very good. But the air quality has been really, really bad. And I got worried for Maurice Hurst. Now that we were talking about Maurice Hurst, when I read these articles, I kept thinking, what's going to happen with the breathing and the lungs and the heart? But clearly, hopefully, it's a non-issue. And then announced today, the NFL said, the international series will continue. And the Raiders are likely to play in Mexico City again next year. I reported this maybe last year that there was a unspoken of contract between Mark Davis and the league once they were going to Vegas or dealing with all that stuff, that the Raiders will play overseas or do an international game till 2025. And now the proof is of that unspoken of contract is coming out. I don't know what type of agreement Mark Davis made with the NFL, but it's really happening. So the Raiders are going to play in Mexico next year again, if not London or wherever else they play. But your thoughts on that possible contract that was not spoken of and the Raiders losing another home game?
Yeah, this might have been something that who knows, man. Who knows what kind of dealings happens behind the scenes, but this might have been, to help parlay the approvals for the Raiders to move. I mean, if they committed to playing, in the international series for an extended period of time, who knows, right? And especially since, look, it's our home, but the NFL doesn't like the Oakland Coliseum. So any opportunity that they have to move a game out of Oakland, they'll take it because they don't like the way it looks on TV. They don't like the accommodations. They don't like a lot of things about the Coliseum. And again, it's our home, and I love it because I've been going there since my mother was pregnant with me and went to the World Series. You know what I mean? So, it's part of my life. So I just love it and the amazing memories I have there. But let's be frank about it. It's kind of a dump. And, so the NFL doesn't want to have as many games there as possible. So would it be no surprise that there would be some sort of deal in place to move games out of Oakland, and with a team committing to that, it makes it easy on the NFL to promote the international series by already having a team that can be consistent in doing that. So that would not be shocking to me at all. And frankly, Mikey, for next year, we could be the Las Vegas Nomads next year. There's all kinds of reports out there, right? That we could be playing part of our games at Qualcomm. We could be playing them partially in Las Vegas. We could be in Mexico City and London. We could be
San
Antonio. So look, and there is precedent for that. When the Tennessee Oilers moved from Houston, they staged 1 year in Memphis before they then played another year at Vanderbilt Stadium before they eventually moved into what was then LP Field or whatever it was back then. Adelphia, I think, was the first name of that Coliseum. But anyways, point being is that they kind of nomaded around themselves a little bit. So there's times that this has happened in the NFL. So, I think the Raiders are definitely in a spot where they might be forced to do this, right?
I guarantee, like you said, very classy. They'll probably lose their home game next year if it's in Oakland or wherever else. It'll be a home game, the international game, where the Raiders will lose it. But if the Raider Stadium opens up in 2020 and they're playing there, and if there is still a contract where they have to play internationally post-2020, if there is that contract out there, again, they are not going to risk losing home games in Vegas the first couple of years there. So if the Raiders play internationally in 2020, it'll be an away game for the Raiders to play international.
Totally agree.
All right, draft pick watch. We are third now for the first overall draft pick now since we got that win, and there was no tanking that I know of in that game. But do you want the number one draft pick or do you want wins?
No, heck no, we don't want the number one draft pick. I will give us the W's, man. We only got so many of these things, and we only got, 6 left. So, we only get so much Raider football every year, and I want them to win every single time we see them. So I would rather them win out and be 8-8 and draft somewhere in the middle of the pack than have the number one draft pick. Now, a nice consolation prize to being a loser is the idea that, you get to draft high, and I'm going to be at the draft this year in person, and so it will make for better coverage for Raiders Fan Radio and more, you know what I mean? So from a media perspective, then sure, give us the higher picks, the better. But no, as a fan, absolutely not. I want to see our team win. And are we still giving everything that we're thankful for each segment, Mikey?
Oh, yeah, I was going to do that in the headlines, but go for it.
Gotcha. All right, we'll go. Well, then that's it. Then that's all I got.
No, I mean, go for it. I want this to be a Thanksgiving episode.
Okay, well, I'm thankful for my wife, and I'm thankful for my both my boys. I have 2 boys, and a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I'm thankful for her for putting up with me all these years. And I got 2 awesome kids, 2 budding rock stars. So good stuff.
Again, and I'm not saying this because your wife, but you mentioned your wife, and it made me. I've been watching old comedians recently, and I've been watching these like jokes from like Rodney Dangerfield and all that, and then there was a Thanksgiving episode like on Carson where he goes, Johnny, he goes, I'm here to tell you things I'm thankful for. He goes, I'm thankful for your wife. Like he did it against Carson.
Yeah.
And then Carson's like, what? You get it? That was hilarious. Oh, I don't know. It just
well, listen, I definitely outkicked my coverage. There was no doubt there.
I'm thankful for your wife. That's hilarious. Oh, my God. Dude, that means they might be fooling around. That's scary. All right. I'm thankful for the comedians that have been making me laugh recently through all this pain. So I'm very thankful for that. Rodney Dangerfield, John Panera, they're great. Injury news. Brandon LaFell, another wide receiver gone for the Raiders, tore his Achilles, and he is out for the season. I think they're definitely going to be on the free agent waiver or something this week. But who knows? They might stick with Saeed Blacknell or whoever's left. What are your thoughts on the injury to LaFell?
This is sad, man. He was really starting to get a rapport with Carr, and, you know, Carr was lacking targets that he could be comfortable with, and really lacking somebody that, you know, that dependability, just that guy he could trust. And thankfully, it looks like it might be Aitman might actually be taking part of that role, especially the way that Carr was gushing about him this week. But yeah, just sad, man, that LaFell finally, when he started to emerge a little bit, this happens, man. And Achilles, man, that's at this point in his career. I'm not saying that he's not going to come back from it, but I can't imagine he's going to be too productive by the time he does. You know, kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, so we had the incident versus Derek Carr and all that, or Gruden versus Carr publicly on TV 2 weeks ago, and it continued. But of course, it was overblown for media coverage and all that other stuff. But the point is, it still happened. Again, I understand it was overblown and they're building a chemistry, but it still happened. So that's why I'm posing the question, is it good or is it bad? And then real quickly, before we talk, is it good or bad? Gruden said, sometimes raising your voice, I look ridiculous to some people, but I want urgency. I want to have some urgency to get things right. And it doesn't mean I'm always right, as Derek pointed out on the sidelines yesterday, where Gruden is now taking the blame for a lot of things. But it looks really, really bad publicly. So that's why I'm posing the question, what would you do different? Because we're losing. So this all looks bad. Yes, the win helped this, and the story is clearly not going to be that big of a story because we won. But it still looks bad from my perspective on the sidelines. What are your thoughts? Is this good or bad for Derek Carr and John Gruden on the sidelines with all the media watching?
Well, I'm curious, Mikey, to why you're opposed to it when just a few shows ago you had lamented the fact that there wasn't more fire between these two guys, that you longed for the time when it was, you know, Gruden and Gannon, and about how they would kind of go at it a little bit. So I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I think this is great. I love this. You know,
I didn't want it publicly. They're going
to do it on the sideline. It's public. There is no not public to this thing, right? There was no not public to the way that Gruden.
No, I wanted it in the locker rooms. You get it. Well, he'll fight back when they go in after the halftime or something.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with this any bit whatsoever. This is the way John Gruden rolls. I'm glad to see Derek get some fire to him. He needs to.
Well, yeah, he fought back finally.
Yeah, because the aw shucks mentality of, oh, we'll get him next time, and you know it's all on me. No, you should hold other people accountable, and you should be able to push back a little bit, and especially when your boss is getting in your ass, you should be able to push back a little bit on him. I don't think there's anything wrong with this any bit whatsoever, and I'll tell you why. Is that it's not petty. and it's not personal. When you go back, if you guys don't remember, go YouTube June Jones and Jeff George. That's unhealthy exchange between quarterback and head coach. That's not what this is. There's nothing wrong with these two guys going at it the way, considering what they're going at it about, the content about it. They're both trying to fight. They're both pulling the same rope, man. They're both fighting for the same thing. There's nothing wrong with this. It's fiery, it's passion, it's emotion, and that's what you need, man, to be effective sometimes out there on the football field. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when we're losing, like last week when it first happened, they saw it publicly. And, when we're losing, that's what it is. It's bad vibes. So to me, it looked really, really bad. Then this week, it looked bad again because we're still in the game. And I was like, oh, my God, this is wrong and getting bad. But I have to look at things like you said from the other side of the view. And I'm trying to do that lately. So I loved the fact that Carr possibly fought back against Gruden. I don't think 2 weeks ago Carr would have. So it was necessary for the media to blow it out 2 weeks ago. And then this week, Carr said, what? No. You did this. You made that play call. This is what and that. And then Gruden on the sidelines even said it. My fault. You're right. So I love it. It's building chemistry and passion. I do wish it was in the locker room because it's still a losing season. And, in this clickbait media, it's going to be blown out of proportion. And now they're going to be watching even more. So if we start losing badly again and this type of a temperament comes out again, it might happen again and look just as bad. But I like that they're at least building chemistry now. And I love that Derek Carr is fighting back against Gruden's dominant butt instead of being a submissive. I love that. I love it. So I think it's bad and good, from any perspective. It could be bad moving forward, but it could also be good moving forward for the chemistry. And Gannon fought back with Gruden. So now I like to see Carr fight back. I don't know. Just in a summary to that situation. Do you got any?
No, like I said, I like it. It doesn't bother me one bit. I think it's healthy and, healthy, being emotional and caring and, you know what I mean? And being passionate about what you do. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely at all. So again, as long as it doesn't devolve into unhealthy territory, it's like I tell people all the time, whether it's folks on this show or other, I don't want you to agree with me. I mean, it's sure if we share an opinion or whatever, that's awesome. But I don't do this because I'm seeking approval. I don't do this because I want you to think I'm right all the time. I do this because here's my opinion. And if you find it interesting, then maybe we can bring an additional insight or some additional analysis or whatever to the topic. But I don't do this because I want people to agree with me all the time. The only rule I have is that if you disagree, be nice. Be passionate, be emotional, get fired up, hoot and holler, knock yourself out. Just don't, devolve into name calling and pettiness, right? So that's just because these guys disagree. Well, fine. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing as long as they're not name calling, essentially, right? And that's what I mentioned the June Jones, Jeff George thing is that they were going at each other about their mamas, essentially, right? It devolved into something that had nothing to do with football. So as long as Gruden and Carr are essentially hashing it out over football, knock yourself out.
Yeah, the only reason I said it looks good, for Carr, for Moxie, and, it's very passionate. But the thing that scared me was the original story from Paul Gutierrez, and even Lee Smith responded in a press conference or something after an interview that he grabbed John Gruden or moved him around the neck area, whatever. But they were calling it fake news. I'm like, it happened. The point is, it happened, and it doesn't look good. Whether Lee Smith did it, he still did it, whether he did it for passion, for fire, or whatever. It just meant that Lee Smith was watching it and going, oh, I don't know. I need to get in there. I need to do something. It's just scary to me that it could get worse. And unfortunately, I always think about the worst as opposed to the better. But I think this will get better. I'm taking that stance between Derek Carr. And I love seeing Lee Smith stick up for Carr again, move his coach away. Again, everybody's sticking up for each other. Everybody's taking accountability now. Even Gruden admit he made a mistake when Carr shoved it in his face. So it turned around, dude. This is good. This is good for me. and let's move on. But it was blown out of proportion, and I hope it's not blown out of proportion anymore. So play the audio of their response to the Gruden versus Carr sideline talking.
We had a man-to-man situation. He went for the big play, and we had a mild disagreement. But you know what? That's part of this business. We're going to have times where we clash a little bit. We're also very supportive of one another, and I'm really proud of him. He's been through a lot this year, and I'm glad he's our quarterback.
We're both very fiery. A lot of people don't see that in me, right, all the time. But we're both very fiery, both very competitive. Minor disagreement on something. And the beautiful thing is when we do that, it's never like a demeaning thing or pointing a finger. It's just we're both yelling the same kind of thing almost, And let's just, all right, well, let's fix it, that kind of a deal, And it was, again, it's not the first time. I doubt it'll be the last time, but everything's good, I promise. We hugged about it.
Yeah, that sounded all good to me. But again, that first statement by Gruden, and I just want to talk about this and get your opinion. It scared me. He said we had a play man-to-man, and Derek Carr went for the big play. I don't know what's wrong with that. I want Derek Carr to go for the big play. So is Gruden telling him you need to continue checking down? I don't know. That little statement just kind of scared me a little. He's like, Carr went for the big play. Like it's a bad thing. I don't know. Just your thoughts on that little comment.
If they would have won this game, is this a topic? That's my thoughts.
You mean if Arizona won the game? If the Raiders
No,
won?
I mean, was this after this last game?
Yes.
Okay. So
that was about the sideline.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the last game still. All right.
No, this is this game.
Okay. So, no, I don't think it's an issue at all. No, I don't. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I feel like we kind of talked all the way through it. Like, I don't have a problem with it. No.
Yeah, they were asked why they got in a fight on the sidelines or whatever, and Gruden said because Carr went for the big play.
Yeah, I guess, he didn't follow what the coach said. If X isn't there, then throw it out of bounds, and X wasn't there, and so then Derek tried something else. So I mean, I don't know. No, I don't have a problem with it. So they disagreed on something again. So they had a disagreement. Gruden wanted him to do something. Carr had a difference of opinion, and they battled on it. Like, okay,
that's what happened. I mean? I like that Derek Carr, in my opinion, I like that he went for the big play because I want big plays personally. That's just me. But whatever, we won, and you're right. It's not a story. So let's continue loving the victory. So I said it on my post-game show. I believe this could hopefully be one galvanizing moment. I mean, look at that picture. I mean, we were so hard up for a victory through all this criticism and everything. And I'm not saying that this will create wins moving forward. But, in terms of the locker room and the players that are left, that are there, that are fighting, this to me, or that game should be called, you know how the NFL calls games in the history? I call it one galvanizing moment. So let's listen to them celebrate, and let's hear your thoughts on the victory.
Hey, this is feeling great, man. Got our second one on the road. We got to go to Baltimore next year, keep it rolling. Let's go. Raider Nation, baby, let's go.
Offensive line, defense made plays, man. Everybody made plays, man. That was a team win. I'm just thankful, man.
That's for you, Oakland, California.
We do not what? That's what the Raiders are all about, all right? This organization is built on a commitment to what? Excellence. And God dang it, we're going to commit ourselves to excellence right down the stretch. I'm so proud of all you guys. You learn a lot about going home after that 49er game with your head in your hands. But what you learned is you're the most mentally tough team in football. And that's going to go a long way. It's going to serve us well. Man, enjoy the wins. They're hard to get in this league. Let's come back to work. Let's get ready for Thanksgiving in Baltimore. God bless y'all, man.
Family on three. 1, 2, 3.
I love it. Like I said, whether Gruden, Carr, us, criticism, I loved hearing Gruden have that speech. I loved it. And to me, this is possibly one galvanizing moment for the Raiders moving forward. Basically, Gruden winning and the team through all this adversity.
Yeah, I think it's important in the scheme of this season look, they're human beings, and as much as they're competitors and they have the firm belief they're going to win every single game, at a certain point, your record reflects what your postseason expectations are going to be. And when you have 8 losses, the expectation is that you're not going to go past this season. So I think that for them winning in this moment it's kind of like, well, we're kind of out of it now. So now we're just playing for love of the game. We're playing for whatever your motivation is, family, paycheck, whatever it may be. Those are the only things you have left to play for because a championship is not in play anymore. So for a team like that to then get a win, I think it's important because then, yes, you can at least have the opportunity to carry some positivity out through the rest of the season versus just getting beat down every single week in the media, on the field. You know what I mean? It's like you got to think about the mental, like that's why Gruden said what he said about mental toughness. You got to think about this, guys, is that you're going out there on the field, you're getting your brains beat in physically, then you're getting your brains beat in by the media. You know what I mean? Like you're constantly surrounded by negativity. And so the idea that now you have something that can kind of lift you up a little bit to carry you into the back half of the season, I think it's extremely important for the morale of the team and really, frankly, for the morale of the coaching staff. I mean, I don't think John Gruden is ever going to lack confidence, but at a certain point, man, you just got to, you know what I mean? You just got to have some results, man. It's a results-driven business one way or the other. So I think it's a good thing, obviously. And so hopefully it will carry through, Mikey. I don't think we're going to win out, you know what I mean? But It sure is nice to see a win against a team you should beat in the Cardinals.
For all the reasons you stated it, and Gruden loved it, and it helped Gruden mentally as well. Again, to continue fighting, it proves the tanking conspiracy, at least for that moment, null and void. Again, we don't want to get into that, but you're right. We deserve this, and this is possibly one galvanizing moment for the players going into Thanksgiving to have a wonderful family traditional holiday on the field. And I loved it. I'm not going to get into stats because this show is too damn long. So we're into the fun segment. Let's do this. Remember the Galloping Gobbler? Since it's a Thanksgiving episode, this is Thankful Mondays with Mike and Murf. Do you remember the Galloping Gobbler?
Yeah, vaguely. Remind me of what that is.
It's an award, I believe, by Fox or somebody after the football game to the MVP of that game. And they started it like in 2005 or something, or 2004.
Yeah.
And then the first award is on your left, and then it evolved into a plaque. But I love the old award. It's just rinky-dinky, beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool. My favorite always, though, was back in the Madden and Summerall days, man, when they used to do the 6-legged turkey. Oh, you rock, Mikey. You rock, dude. Okay, that to me was the best, man. Those days when, and I know that NBC still awards the turkey leg and all that, but none of that will compare to the old days when Madden and Summerall used to do their giveaways. That was the best game. That Thanksgiving Day game with these two guys, man, that was beautiful stuff, man. That was some of the best football broadcasting in the history of the sport.
On Sunday Night Football, when field goal kicker hit the crossbar, it went doink, and then Chris Collinsworth and whoever else is on there, he goes, Madden came up with that word, doink. Yep. And he goes, it's so funny how that word sounds exactly like what you hear when the ball hits the crossbar, doink. And he goes, Madden invented that on Monday Night Football.
The two things that make that sound, a field goal kicker hitting the upright and Shaq shooting a free throw.
Doink. That is hilarious. Well, Pat Summerall, there it is. That's the turducken. That's what it is. It's the turducken. There's Madden in his RV eating turducken. I love it. These are awesome Thanksgiving memories. You're completely right, man. That 6-legged turkey or turducken is amazing. And let's look at what it looks like.
There's the turducken, yeah. So the turducken is a duck inside of a chicken inside of a turkey. Or wait, maybe I got that backwards. But whatever it is, it's a duck, a turkey, and a chicken all combined together.
Inside of a duck, inside of a turkey.
There you go. Yeah. That's great stuff, man. It's beautiful.
Look at that. I don't know. It looks a little scary to eat. It's just, but hey, I would try it.
I would too. In a second.
Yeah, Madden is famous for the 6-legged turkey and calling the turducken. So I just thought that was a great football history to talk about on Thanksgiving. Love you, Madden. All right, we got to do it again. Johnny Drama, we got the victory going into Thanksgiving.
Thank you, God. Victory!
Oh,
Beautiful.
I love Victory Mondays. That means we get to see Johnny Drama.
Absolutely. Anytime we get a chance to see Entourage clips, it's a good show.
Oh, that's such a great show, man. I got to revisit that again.
Best ever, man. My all-time ever favorite show. It's fantastic.
I'm friends with a few of them.
I know.
And the producer on Facebook.
I know. I'm waiting for my Jerry Ferrara interview on Raiders Fan Radio, man, even though he's a Giants fan.
You know what? He owns a restaurant I went to twice, like where they sell submarine sandwiches.
Yeah.
He's like an owner. I got to get him as a sponsor. I didn't even think about that.
Come on, Mikey. Let's go, dude. Get it together.
I got to talk to Turtle.
You got all these contacts, man. You got to use those, not to exploit them for negative reasons, but to use your connections to network to boost your show.
Yeah, but if he becomes a sponsor, maybe it won't be money. He'll want to give me sandwiches, and I got diabetes too. And now we're going to talk about Thanksgiving food. All right. I don't want to talk about it, but I love it. This is Mikey and Murf's Thanksgiving memories and our top 3 foods or sides for Thanksgiving. So quickly, I hate saying the word quickly about a memory, but give me one of your best Thanksgiving memories.
I'll give you a fun Thanksgiving memory in terms of watching football, and it was with my dad. And for whatever reason, I remember it was just like me and him left. Maybe other people had left and taken naps or whatever. It was just me and him, and it was 1993 when the Cowboys and the Dolphins played. And if you remember, there was actually snow or like an ice sheet that had fallen through Texas Stadium because it had the big hole in the roof, and so the field was covered in snow/ice, and the Dolphins had a chance to kick a game-winning field goal. It was blocked. The ball got knocked into the end zone and was just sitting there, and all the Cowboys had to do was leave it alone, and the play would have been whistled dead, and they would have won. But Leon Lett came sliding in and hit the ball on like about the 10-yard line, and the Dolphins then recovered it and got another chance to kick it. Pete Stoyanovich puts it through, and the Dolphins win. And of course, I've hated the Cowboys my entire life, and I've always liked Dan Marino, even though he's not a Raider. I've always liked him as a player, and so it was nice to see the Dolphins win and on Thanksgiving, and it was cool to hang out with my dad and root against the Cowboys. So that was a fun Thanksgiving memory.
Yeah, no, I love those type of memories. I remember that game fondly as well. But I'm going to get personal again. I love Thanksgiving. I love waking up. Many years ago, before my dad passed, he would, before he lost his sight, he became blind from cataracts, but he would cook all day and I'd watch football. So that was a great memory. But about 9 years ago, I had to take on the Thanksgiving duties and cooking and all that because my dad was losing his sight and all that, and he wasn't able to cook anymore. But about 9 years ago, my brother, was in rehab for some issues and stuff like that, and I was very poor. And I didn't have enough money to buy turkeys, because they're like $25 for the big ones and all that other stuff. And I think I only had like $30 on me at that time to get all the stuff from the 99-cent store. So since my dad was going blind, I bought the little Cornish game hen chickens. I bought 2 of them for like $5 each. And I tricked my dad. I cooked it. And I made a plate for him and everything. And I said, "Do you like the turkey?" He's like, "Oh, it's the best turkey I've had," And then I finally told him, I didn't have enough money to buy the turkey, so I bought little chickens. And then he's like, "Why would you do that to me? It's Thanksgiving." And I'm like, "I didn't have the money." He goes, "Oh, I understand that." He goes, "You know what? Even though it's a chicken, it's the best damn turkey I've ever had on Thanksgiving." And that memory of being broke, not affording a turkey, became the best memory and the quote of loving from my father. And that propelled me for years to come. And in honor of that day, even though I cook a turkey, I still buy a Cornish game hen chicken and I cook it for my father every year.
Right on, Mikey. That's a good story, dude. Good stuff.
Thank you. My dad's beautiful, beautiful soul, just like yours is, well. Beautiful, missed people. Your top 3 side foods, for Thanksgiving in order.
Well, it's funny, and me, I'm not capable of a short answer, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. I'm a Murf, right, by name, but I'm also half Sicilian on my mother's side. So our Thanksgivings had a lot of traditional Italian food as well. We would have raviolis and meatballs and bread and salad and focaccia and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful food. Focaccia, yeah, exactly. It's focaccia bread for all you gringos out there, but it's focaccia is what we call it in our right. So we would have all this great food, and so we would have that stuff for Thanksgiving. But now I live in the South, and my in-laws and other members of my family that we've married into, that's the traditional Southern Thanksgiving with the cook-down green beans and the casseroles and the ham and turkey and all that stuff. So it's like I got like 2 Thanksgivings. So long answer to your question. The Italian food aside, that really was like my favorite food and still is my all-time favorite food, period, let alone on Thanksgiving. But as far as Thanksgiving specific food, I got to go with the sweet potatoes. Some people may call them yams, but out here in the South, they sweet potato pie and they put marshmallows and all that stuff in it. It's freaking phenomenal. So I would say that with the Sister Schubert rolls, right, is the rolls, those yummy rolls. And then you put the turkey with the cranberry sauce in the roll and make it like a sandwich you could even put the stuffing and everything in there. I know I just gave you like 5 foods, but oh my God, my mouth is watering right now.
So 3 of them. We got the yams, we got the rolls, and what's your number 1 side thing?
I'd say stuffing. The stuffing has got the cornbread, and they do it here. They do it with cornbread. They do cornbread stuffing. Lord have mercy. It's so good, Mikey. I'm telling you, that traditional Southern Thanksgiving, dude, you cannot beat it. It's again, the Italian food thing aside, the raviolis and meatballs and all that, but that stuff is great all year long. But as far as Thanksgiving food goes, to die for. How about you, my friend?
It was funny. I was shaking my head because you were almost answering what I exactly do. My number 3 was the cranberry marshmallow yams. So we got cranberry sauce on top. We got marshmallows mixed in with the yams and baked. So you got the marshmallow, sweet cranberry goodness all together. That's my number 3. My number 2 is the Hawaiian rolls. They got a little bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
And then put the yams, the stuffing, the turkey, the gravy all into like a little Hawaiian sandwich with that roll. And it's so amazing. But my number 1 is my dad's spicy deviled eggs. He, for many years, would cook deviled eggs. He'd put Tabasco on the top and a little bit of paprika. So mixed with all the cranberry sandwiches that are cold and sweet with the Hawaiian bread, that spicy deviled egg to end it was like just the end all for me, and I loved it. So those are my top 3 foods. Thank you very much for explaining that. I'm with you on the deviled eggs, and I didn't mean to exclude them. I'm glad I did because you gave them on your answer. But I am notorious for being the guy that eats like half a plate of deviled eggs on my own, and then I have to sleep on the couch because, my wife doesn't want to smell me afterwards. But they're a lot of work to make those eggs.
Well, and they're just amazing. Those things are so good. But yeah, they do terrible things to your insides afterwards.
Oh, they do. Believe me, my insides have been terrible for 40 years of my existence. Trust me. All right, game preview, expectations, X Factor, predict. Let's get into it. Baltimore lost, or no, they won with Lamar Jackson, by the way, the other day.
Yeah. And guess what? He runs the football, Raiders. Guess what, Bengals? Lamar Jackson's going to run the football. So here's the thing with Lamar Jackson. He's probably going to make one read, and then because he's a rookie, right? And so he's not going to be familiar with all the route concepts and trees and all that kind of stuff. He's likely going to make one read, and then if that's not there, then he's going to probably run the football. So Raiders, key on him, plan on him running the football. If he's going to beat you, make him beat you throwing the football. And I mean, look, I don't have any delusions that the Raiders are going to go out and win anymore if, very many football games. But if there's a chance for us to do that, it would be on the idea that they're going to, contain him and keep him from taking off and running the heck out of the football, right? So I think they're, defensively, if we can keep up that way, then I think offensively we have enough to score some points. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if Joe Flacco doesn't play, I prefer Flacco, to play. But we might have a better chance with Lamar Jackson, but the Raiders gave up too many big plays on the outside. So I could see Lamar Jackson, if he played, crushing us on occasion with missed tackles from Arden Key or whoever. I don't know. It's just very, very scary. But I don't see us winning. Regardless, their defense is so good. and I don't know how good their defense will look against our offensive line, whatever. But hey, give me a prediction.
My prediction is that C.J. Mosley of the Ravens signs with the Raiders in the offseason, and he becomes our middle linebacker. How's that for prediction?
I like that one. Yeah, I like that one. I did a free agency show where I could possibly see Joe Flacco being on this team next year as a veteran quarterback. Gruden likes the Gannon types, the veteran type show. You never know.
You never know. But my money's on C.J. Mosley. But I'm with you. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, prediction wise, I don't know. We're gonna lose by a lot. I mean, I'm done picking the Raiders. I was never good at these things to begin with. But I would say, if 27-7 Ravens, something like that.
I was premature a second ago. I went to the ending, but there's some events happening for the Ravens game.
Yeah, so thank you for asking. So as far as predicting the game outcome, I don't know, but what I can predict is that Raider Nation is going to be in full force, and there's going to be a good time to be had. So if you're going to the game, check out our friends at the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole, DC Metro Raiders, Hampton Roads Raiders, and the Northern Virginia Booster Clubs. They are collectively putting on a tailgate. Of course, the Black Hole tailgate is always free to all Raiders fans. They're going to be in Lot J. For the Black Hole, the DC Metro, Hamptons, and Northern Virginia clubs, they're going to be selling tickets to their tailgates, but their tailgate is going on over the entirety of the weekend, and you can go to dcmraiders.com. That's dcmraiders.com, and you can get a ticket there and go to all of the weekend tailgates, or if you're going to the game the day of, check out the Black Hole tailgate. It's in Lot J, and again, food and drinks are free, although they take donations for them. And when you donate to the Black Hole, that stuff typically goes to the charity. So our guys at the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole, they'll do it. They'll give it to local schools, and they'll do all kinds of wonderful things with it. So definitely support those members of Raider Nation. We've had those three, DC Metro, Northern Virginia, and Hampton Roads, have been on Raiders Fan Radio for interviews, and also the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. Those are the guys that host the show, the Fan Club Blitz on the Murf's Fan Cave Network. All of those folks are fantastic folks, and so link up with them. You will have a great time hanging out with them. And again, despite what happens inside the stadium, it will always be a good time hanging out with Raider Nation pregame. So definitely hit them up, and if you do, have fun and let us know you had a good time.
There it is, Lot J for Joker, and dcmraiders.com as on screen. But every tailgate, no matter who's doing it, there's going to be plenty of them, and they're going to represent definitely out there versus the Baltimore Ravens. Murf, I just want to tell you, happy Thanksgiving, my dude. Thank you for being a part of this channel. Thank you for putting up with my crazy butt. Thank you for not killing me officially. Thank you very much for everything you've done for me to help me out mentally, to give me some positivity, and for showing up on a couple episodes back. You showed up and you just made me have a good time and get out of the house. And I'm very thankful that we're building a friendship, albeit slowly, because I do everything slowly. Thank you very much for being a part of my life. And I'm grateful for you and your blessed family on this holiday season.
Thank you, Mikey. I appreciate you, man. Feelings mutual, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I've had just a great time getting to know you and doing this in our shared venture on Mondays with Mikey and Murf, and you've been a blessing to get to know, my friend, and I'm thankful for that. And, if I could just get two more quick ones, we get a lot of overseas listens, and a lot of those overseas are for servicemen and women. So thank you to those of you that are out there, protecting us on the front lines and making it possible for guys like us to do internet television shows and talk about our favorite football team. And so to not only thankful to you for what you do and when you listen to us, but for all of you, everybody that's listening to us via the audio podcast, or especially right now watching us on the live stream. I would do this stuff if no one listened, because I love to talk about the team, but trust me, it is way more rewarding to have you guys there and a part of it. And the reason that we're called Raiders Fan Radio is that we celebrate the fandom of the Raiders and of the team. And that's exactly what Mikey does on his channel here on Honor Nation. And without you guys, you know what I mean? It's just the fandom of the Raider Nation is amazing. And the support you guys give us is amazing. And I cannot tell you how thankful I am. I'm endlessly thankful to you for your participation, you know, your commitment to your time, your resources, all that stuff. And at the risk of gushing and getting too cheesy about it, I just can't tell you guys enough how important you are, because again, I would talk about the Raiders in my everyday, just like you do in your everyday. Anybody that's listening to us, it's part of what you do. So the fact that you were willing to tune in and listen to us talk about it, that's really, really just very flattering. So just thank you. I can't say it enough to you all, and appreciate you for what you do to support what we do here.
Thank you guys very much. I need to thank you guys personally, every one of you that put up with me, my nonsense. I haven't been reading the comments lately because I've been trying to avoid negativity, but clearly not in the clickbait videos I make. But hey, that's just a money situation. Let's just talk about that. I'm being transparent. But look, on this video, I want you guys to write some personal stuff that you're thankful for, or call the Raider Rants hotline. The number is in multiple videos. I want you guys to call up and let me know what you're thankful for in your life, whether it be family, the Raiders, the team, anything. I want your Thanksgiving positive wishes on my channel this week. Thank you very much. Leave your comments below. This is Mondays with Mike and Murf. This is Victory Mondays. And gosh darn it, I hope we get another one. Let's get on out of here, Murf. Let's do our silly dances because they think we're silly.
Oh, yeah. People love the way I dance so much.
Me too. Happy Thanksgiving, Raider Nation. If I don't tell you all the time, I'm going to tell you now. I love you.